Tonight, we will travel back in time to the very beginning of the FIFA World Cup, a moment in history, a story of football's first great dream. Close your eyes, take a slow breath, and let us drift back to Uruguay in the year 1930. The year was 1930. The world was different then. The game of football had grown across Europe and South America, carried by ships, by workers, by students, by travelers. But never before had there been a true world championship. Never before had the nations of the world gathered to decide who was best at the game. FIFA, the governing body of football, had chosen Uruguay as the host. Why Uruguay? Because they were strong champions. They had won the Olympic gold medal in football in 1924.
And again in 1928. They were proud.
And they were celebrating 100 years of independence. 13 nations would travel to Uruguay. Some came by ship. Some traveled for weeks. It was not easy. But the dream of football was stronger than the distance. On July 13th, 1930, the first matches began. 2 games were played that day. In one, France faced Mexico. In the other, the United States met Belgium. Imagine the scene. The stadium in Montevideo, the grass field, the heavy leather ball laced and thick, the crowd murmuring, waiting. The whistle blows, and the very first World Cup match begins. In the French team, Captain Alex Villaplane led his players onto the field. 19 minutes into the game, history was made. Lucien Laurent, a French forward, struck the ball cleanly. It flew into the net. And just like that, the very first goal in World Cup history was scored. France would go on to win 4-1. The first scoreline in the great book of football's greatest tournament. Meanwhile, in the other match, the United States defeated Belgium 3-0.
Bart McGee scored.
Bert Patenaude scored. The Americans, too, had written themselves into history. Pause now. Picture the dusty pitch.
Picture the crowd.
The simple kits. The sound of leather boots striking leather balls. The beginning of something so much greater than any of them could imagine. This was just the start. The tournament continued. Argentina arrived with skill and fire. Uruguay, the hosts, were determined.
Matches were fierce.
There were heavy tackles, injuries. The rules were not as protective as today. The ball grew heavy when it rained. But the spirit of competition was alive. Crowds in Montevideo filled the stadiums. They were watching history unfold, though perhaps they did not know how great this story would become. As the days passed, Argentina showed their strength. Uruguay showed their resilience. The stage was set for the final. On July 30th, 1930, the very first World Cup final was played. Uruguay faced Argentina. Over 93,000 spectators gathered in Montevideo's Estadio Centenario. It was a day of tension, of rivalry, of national pride. Argentina led 2-1 at half-time, but Uruguay fought back. They scored 3 more. The match ended Uruguay 4, Argentina 2. Uruguay, the host nation, lifted the first World Cup trophy, the beginning of a tradition that would come every 4 years, shaping generations. Now, let us drift deeper into this memory. Imagine the journey of the teams.
Long voyages across the ocean, weeks on a ship,
The sound of waves, the rocking of the sea. The anticipation of stepping onto Uruguayan soil. Think of the fans, gathering in small groups, sharing stories, wondering who would triumph. Think of the players, lacing up boots, adjusting simple cotton shirts, preparing to represent their nations. This was not just sport. This was history. And so, as you listen, let the story repeat gently in your mind. The first World Cup. Uruguay, 1930. 13 nations. 2 opening games. France defeating Mexico. The United States defeating Belgium. Lucien Laurent, the first goal scorer. Uruguay, the champions. These names and numbers float like whispers, calming and steady. You might imagine the old stadium lights fading into dusk. You might hear the distant call of the crowd, a cheer, then silence, a whistle blowing through the cool night air. Football in its purest form. The game that would grow into the world's greatest stage. As time drifts forward, we know what the World Cup became. Brazil's samba football, Italy's resilience, Germany's power,
Argentina's magic.
France's artistry. But in that first moment, it was all just beginning. And it began here in Montevideo in July of 1930. Let these thoughts circle slowly, like gentle waves. The crowd, the players, the ball, the whistle, the first goal, the final score. Uruguay, champions, rest now with these images in your mind, each one soft, each one fading gently into the next, the year 1930, the first World Cup, the beginning of the dream